today's world of technological and scientific discovery and progress, we are accustomed to the idea of companies like Apple and Google being able to patent and profit from their ideas, innovations, and discoveries. But what about discoveries in the human body? Should these be owned or patented by companies? For the last 30 years in the field of DNA and genetic research, this has been happening through gene patents. Companies have been able to own parts of the human body. Critics will say that this is illegal because it's unnatural. You can't own something that's part of nature, while these companies will say they've invested millions upon millions of dollars into this research and they deserve to profit from it. So, should human genes be patentable? Well, first, let's talk about what genes are. Genes are a section of DNA that provide function. Functions are traits like eye color, hair color, how many fingers you have, and propensity for diseases, amongst other things. Jonathan Slack says in his book Genes, a very short introduction, genes have become the basis of a huge technology which generates pharmaceuticals, diagnostic tests, forensic identification, paternity tests, and genetically modified crops. So how did genes become such a huge industry, and what opened this window for genes to be owned? In the 1980 Supreme Court case, Diamond versus Chakrabarty, man-made living organisms and structures were deemed patentable. Now, to the very young field of genetics, a lot of biotechnology companies took this as an opportunity to begin patenting genes. And because it was such a new field, it just kind of happened. No one said anything about it. Now let's discuss a fun subject, patent law. According to U.S. patent law, whoever invents or discovers any new and useful process, machine, manufacture, or composition of matter, or any new and useful improvement thereof, may obtain a patent. About 100 lines down, it also says this: laws of nature, natural phenomena, and abstract ideas cannot be patented. Now that's important. Laws of nature, natural phenomena, and abstract ideas cannot be patented. So what are gene patents? Like, that seems natural. How are those patentable? Well, according to the American Medical Association, this is what gene patenting actually is. It's a broad term referring to the patenting of genetic sequences such as DNA, RNA, and to alternative forms of DNA such as cDNA. That's also known as complementary DNA, and it's artificial. It's actually variations of DNA made in a lab. Now, in Tanya Simoncelli's TED Talk, she talks about a specific court case that went all the way to the Supreme Court, but she had this to say about these patents. The patents weren't just to a particular gene that they isolated, but on every possible version of that gene. Why this is important to us is when they say every possible version of that gene, these are the genes we all share. So if you have a history of colon cancer, breast cancer, or bone cancer in your family, and you wanted to go to the doctor to get screened for this, you could only go through that company who owns the patent and their test. And because they have a monopoly on it, they can charge you however much money they want for that. Thousands upon thousands of dollars. And if you can't afford it and you don't have medical insurance, you're out of luck. Now, also with these patents, this prevents other companies from researching these genes and being able to do research, go to clinical trial, and do anything with it. And these are the genes that are in all of us, like they are naturally occurring. Now, in 2009, a court case would start this ball rolling on whether or not this is legal. And this is the Association for Molecular Pathology versus Myriad Genetics Incorporated. In 2013, this went to the Supreme Court. And among the witnesses were 3 members of the Human Genome Project. These are the guys that actually analyzed DNA. Multitudes of geneticists. I mean, it is a huge list of geneticists who actually were at this trial, and dozens of individuals personally affected by gene patents. Surprisingly, this court case went 9-0, deeming gene patents illegal. This is what Justice Scalia, the late Justice Scalia of recent fame, had to say about this. The portion of DNA isolated from its natural state sought to be patented is identical to the portion of DNA in its natural state, and that cDNA is a synthetic creation not normally present in nature. Now, this important distinction is what allows variations of gene patents to still exist, but the genes in me and you in their natural state, they cannot be patented or owned. Now, as I did research on this subject, it was crazy to me that a company could own a piece of you, like, and you couldn't do anything about it. Like, they have the rights to something in your body. As the still relatively young field of genetics goes on, it's going to provide a lot of benefits to humanity. Cures for disease, extension of human life, like plenty of great things. But I think the thing that we really need to be wary of in the future is companies or people trying to own the basic building blocks of our biology. It's terrifying, really. To be born into a world and part of you is already owned, that is crazy to me. And that we should be vigilant against these practices and realize that some things in this world just cannot be owned. Thank you.